Oh my gosh, you guys have got to check this out. The pattern forming that you can clearly see on the daily or even 6-hour chart here seems to be playing out that we talked about 2 days ago. Super exciting stuff. What does it mean? This area is key, critical, guys. We have to take a look at this. We're also going to be taking a look at some possibilities for 2020 as it is my first Bitcoin video of the new year. Very exciting stuff. Is any of this possible? Could McAfee really be the prophet of all time, or is it just full on baloney? If we want to see some positive price action in the near term, the price has definitely hit a massive support area that needs to hold. We got that and a lot more. Well, let's get into it. Wow, welcome back everyone. This is the first video of 2020 and we have a lot of exciting stuff to cover. One of the main things that we talked about in the last video has actually come to pass. We finally broke out of the support we were holding for a very long time into this massive key area that I really want to talk about. What does it mean? Is this a drop that indicates further drop, or is it a drop that indicates a massive big pattern that's been going on for about a month and a half, actually a little bit longer than that, and seems to be playing out in a bullish way? Is that a possibility? Or is it not? And we have some other scenarios we need to take a look at as well today, guys. So guys, if you're new to the channel and you would like to enter to win a Ledger, all you have to do, Ledger wallet, hardware wallet, all you have to do is leave a comment below. And guys, if you're new to the channel, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, turn on post notifications, and ding that bell. So much exciting stuff, guys. Cannot wait to get into it with you. So without any further ado, let's get into it. So I want to start off here on the daily chart. I actually had it on the 6-hour because you can kind of see it pretty nicely on that too. But this, again, potentially is a possible inverse head and shoulder, guys. And so we did want a pullback. We talked about it here on this chart as well. And so we actually expect it might actually come down a little bit more. But one thing you notice here is that where we found a bounce so far, let's go to the 1 hour so you can see this data expand a little bit. You can see about 5 hours ago, we had a bounce basically right on this, the top of that descending broadening wedge that's been printed on there for a few weeks now. Okay, that's where we got the bounce. So that's very key. And again, you see that that actually lines up perfectly with the trend line that it's been bouncing on for a while now. So again, it's still respecting this. After all of this time, it's still respecting this line here. And we're going to talk about some more specific things and what it means, why other patterns are lining up in regards to this pattern. But this trend line is still as key as ever. You see the bounce there, guys. Will that bounce hold up? Well, that's what we're going to be talking about in this video. But before we spend too much time, I also do want to highlight some other things we're going to be talking about, guys. 2020 is now, okay? So a lot of people potentially said that, well, what 2018 was a bear market, okay? Without a doubt, 2018 was a massive bear market. And to illustrate that real quick, we can zoom out. We can go back to 2018, guys, okay? This is 2018 right here. This is where it starts, right here, all the way to here. So all of this data right here was 2018, and that was a bear market, guys. And 2019 actually as well didn't start off too hot either. Okay, we can start right here after coming out. You know, this was part of 2018, big drop there. So this is 2018, the bear market, and then we have 2019, which was not necessarily a bear market. The last 6 months of it were all a descending channel here. You can see all of that. So 2018 was a bear market. 2019 was, I think a lot of people would say, some bullish momentum you can see at the beginning here, and then a very massive accumulation phase, I think is a way you could put it. But will 2020 be a hype year? We had a very bearish year in 2018. We had a very mixed bag of breakouts and confirmations in 2019. But what will 2020 bring, guys? Remember, these markets are heavily, actually, in fact, they're pretty much mainly psychology based. These markets rely so heavily on human psychology. It's actually ridiculous how much all of this is simply based on human emotion. As much as we say we don't want to trade with emotion and everything, it's pretty much all based on what we think will happen, because all of it plays a huge role. So with 2020, I think that is a start of a new refreshing mindset in terms of the psychology of humans and how we view the market and how we expect this growth to happen, or if we expect things to turn around. So with that being said, later in the video, we are going to be talking about some predictions and what could happen in 2020. Very exciting stuff, guys. But for now, I want to talk about on the short term. So what is happening here? So a potential inverse head and shoulders is being printed as we speak, you guys. Okay, and so far this has been holding up beautifully. And today we got something that we really wanted to see, that I've been asking for about a week or two now on the channel. And we actually got a nice drop out of this darn 72 range down to currently we're at 69.45, but we actually go all the way down to 6,800. Okay, so we dropped quite a significant amount today. Okay, you can see this pretty big red candle on the daily chart. Pretty significant there, guys. Now, we did find some support seemingly right now on the top of this descending broadening wedge. However, I would not be surprised if we actually continued a little bit further down. Okay, we still have a significant amount of room we could go before getting down to like ruining the pattern, which would have to be below 6,400 US dollars or around 6,400 US dollars. $6,300, the whole pattern would pretty much be invalidated in my opinion. However, if it was a very quick wick up, it still could be valid. But again, if it got that low, I would tend to think that that would not be a very good sign there. So we still have a decent amount of time or a decent amount of room that we could move down and this pattern could still be valid. But guys, if you're familiar with an inverse head and shoulders, which I covered in the last video, if you're not, they are a bullish reversal pattern, especially coming from this direction, coming from a drop as we see here, guys, and we could see a big move. So how would that look? We could see finally another move up. Okay, we did get a massive green candle. We talked about this a while ago, but we want another big one and we need it to break out of this key areas. So what key areas am I talking about here, guys? Key areas that I'm talking about, this is what it would look like on this chart, guys. And this is the most zoomed out chart I like to use. A breakout now would actually put us about right here. If this inverted head and shoulders broke out, at minimum, I would expect it to break out to about here, about the 7,800 mark. So that looks pretty significant, doesn't it? We take a look at this chart here. Boom. And that's for me at minimum, okay? And that does some very, very key things here. First off, it puts us back above the key of this market structure here, the bottom here. And most importantly, and most awesomely, in my opinion, is by the time that breakout would happen, it's very likely that it would put us to at least test or break the most important indicator for a long-term reversal, in my opinion, on the weekly chart in terms of a moving average, the 21 EMA right here, you guys. Currently, it's at about 8,100 US dollars, okay? So by the time the breakout would occur, it's very possible that it could have come down to about here. And even if it didn't, we would hope that, breaking out to 78, 79 would have us test this. I expect it would be at least only 8,000 by then. So that would just be a massive, massive test again for the market. And again, that is when full-on bull mode would be initiated, in my opinion, guys, because we're not full-on bull mode yet. We need to break above this 21 weekly EMA, this light blue line. I actually changed the color because it blends in with the rest of the lines here. Okay, so it's this green line. I've changed it to this green line right here, guys. Absolute moneymaker. Put it green because that would be the absolute moneymaker and absolute bull mode there. So we do have to keep in mind, though, that if we did get another drop down to the 67, 68 is where I'm expecting that would be a pretty good area to accumulate there, or a pretty good area for a bounce. I think that would, not a good area to accumulate. I meant a very good area for the bounce here. It also puts us right at the bottom of this middle channel of the descending wedge, the bottom middle of that descending channel that we've been in for about 7, almost 8 months now. Okay, it'll put us right about there. It also put us in this key area here, and also the top of this old falling wedge on this chart, guys. And you transpose that over here. What that looks like is right about here as well. Okay, this is on the daily chart for this chart, but it would also be the perfect spot to complete this inverse head and shoulders here. Let me draw that a little bit better here. This inverse head and shoulders. Okay, target hit, that would be absolutely beautiful. This, in my opinion, is what I'm hoping for over the next few days. It could happen very fast. As you guys can see from these charts, when we break out of these consolidation periods, you can see them numerous times. When we break out, all of the big moves tend to happen fast. So we could see some pretty big movement, seeing as we broke out of this key area we've been trading in for a long time. We could see some big movement. Okay, I would hope to see some nice moves down to a little bit lower, and then I would hope and love to see a bounce there. Guys, don't forget the bullish divergence that is printed on the MACD that people have been talking about, guys. Very exciting stuff. I do think this is possible. I do think it's most likely. I do think it is the only thing to forecast as of right now in the short term. The most exciting thing to see for sure. Guys, this whole area right around this 8,000 is just proving to be absolutely so important, okay? We just have to keep a watch on this. Again, remember, if we break about that 8,000, 78, 79, 81, that whole area, that would be the top of this descending channel. It really just depends. Those numbers specifically depend on when it happens because the moving average will be different every single day. Also, something very interesting I think happened today with the Bitcoin longs. We're actually getting some moves up. It's actually going up again. Okay, so again, this pattern continues to get weirder and weirder as we have not seen this ever in the history of this chart. Okay, of the longs here on Bitfinex, of the longs here, you can see this chart just gets weirder and weirder. This is the first time that it is coiled back up after getting the pull back there. Very interesting. Curious to know what you guys think about that. Please leave a comment below if you have an idea or an opinion about what that means. One thing that is obvious, if you look at this chart here, you do see that there was some sort of pattern, some sort of consolidating pattern here, and it clearly did break out of that. Again, this is the long, so I don't necessarily like to do technical analysis on the charts of this, but again, that is a very interesting thing to see. This was actually happening back in the first few months of 2019, and now it's been going absolutely wild. But again, for me, bullish indicator for sure. When things get really weird and it's like, wow, what's going on? That's how you break a pattern. And the pattern we've been in is a downtrend. So to break that downtrend pattern would mean to break to a different pattern, and that would be a positive bullish pattern instead of a bearish pattern. So guys, this is actually pretty wild. It's a pretty wild prediction, but this actually puts us, this is a chart that sees a potential $100,000 Bitcoin by the end of this year. Okay, so here we have the past few years on a chart here, and a very, 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 very bullish potential pattern, a potential possibility. Not saying this is the case, but because it is 2020, the beginning, and things are most likely, in my opinion, going to be more exciting than the past 2 years. As far as predictions, that's all that I'm going to say. So my only prediction is that I think 2020 will be much more exciting than 2019 and 2018. And guys, let's be honest, that's not really saying too much. 2018 and 2019 were relatively boring. 2018 was insanely boring. Very, very, very hard to get through. 2019 had a little more excitement, but I think we're a little jaded because the last 7 months has been a downtrend, even though there have been breakouts here and there. I really like to take a look at this, some positivity, to get some hopium in the air and get people excited for cryptocurrency and Bitcoin in the future, because I think this is very exciting. I don't necessarily know if, I would have looked in this with more detail. I kind of tried to focus on monthly time frames, like month by month, instead of looking, to try and predict a year out. I think it's kind of silly because we don't necessarily have the data for it, but if this turns out to be true, it's absolutely wild. Again, I do think it's a little silly to plot like a few years in advance, specifically charts like this. I see these, guys, I just don't really think there's much credence to them. Again, I don't think you can just draw a big swoop and there you go. Everything's predicted and all of history is recorded. But let me know what you think. Really hoping that we see a big breakout and a confirmation of this pattern. So far, all of these patterns have been confirmed. This descending broadening channel here. We have all like the 6 patterns that were confirmed on here. Let me switch to the daily there. That's what we use, the daily. So many things confirmed there, and it would be absolutely awesome to see this pattern confirmed as well, inverted or inverse head and shoulders there. Let me know what you think. I'll see you in the next one.